so welcome. Welcome to episode 6 of the Reactor. Today we're going to be having a chat with our lovely guest today about the upcoming events, because obviously COVID's almost a thing of the past, so a lot of the events are coming back into the calendar. So we're going to have a chat with you about kind of the benefits of attending, what you should expect when you get there, what creators expect from brands, and vice versa. So we've got two fantastic guests with us. So ironically, we actually all met through events. So we were just chatting actually about how me and Cyborg first met at San Diego TwitchCon, and me and Eric actually met running events. So we were running tournaments together, and we obviously traveled doing that as well, and built a really good friendship from that, which is kind of the whole point of this. Really, is kind of those strong relationships you build from seeing each other IRL. So yes, we have the fantastic Cyborg Angel with us, who we've known now for a few years. And we have Eric, who heads up the team at Advanced, the gaming supplement company. So we've got some really good kind of both sides of the coin, really, in terms of what you can expect from events. So Cyborg, do you want to introduce yourself and just say a bit about you?
Yeah, sure. So I am a full-time virtual reality and variety streamer. I've been full-time now for coming up to I think 6 years. And I do a lot of new releases, a lot of giveaways. I work with a lot of different brands around their tech products, peripherals, etc. And I used to travel to almost every single gaming event that there was before COVID.
What was the main reason you wanted to get you on here? Because obviously you've got a huge amount of success building relationship with brands, and I would assume some of that's coming from events. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, and kind of who you've met on your travels over those 6 years.
Yeah.
Eric, do you want to introduce yourself as well, please?
Yeah. Name is Eric, aka Farcognitions. I am the CMO at Advanced. Advanced is a supplement company with three product lines: the Focus line, the Energy line, the Chill line. Oh, and our new product line, Hydration, and then we have an RTD coming as well, a canned energy drink coming hopefully in a few months now. But yeah, Advanced creates supplements for the gamer, esports, kind of internet culture lifestyle. Um, and yeah, I met Matt, I think, maybe 7, 8 years ago now. And that was in
I don't
person,
say that.
definitely. Yeah,
It feels so
time,
long ago.
time flies.
It
But
does.
yeah, no, I totally agree that IRL, I mean, meeting people in real life, it just goes really far sometimes, you know. So some of my best friendships, I've made a lot of great friendships online as well, but meeting somebody in real life is definitely brings a unique kind of value to it. So
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, one of the reasons we want to get you on here outside of that friendship is that you're clearly very passionate about these events. I know you kind of throw parties fairly regularly for your partners. You do a lot of kind of activities at those events. So it'd be really interested to hear what kind of things you've got planned for this year.
mm,
So just before we get started, we will be announcing the winner of the Creator Grant at the end of the stream. So make sure you hang around for that. So a big thank you to our sponsors. So Advanced are one of those, Gamer Advantage and Beacon, who are a new audio company that we've got a good relationship with. Fantastic products. So they've been supporting us this month with all the goodies that the Creator Grant winner is going to get. So thanks very much for that. Just as a quick side note, we do have some commands in chat. So all donations and subs from today will go into next month's grant. So anything, if you find it helpful today and you want to kind of support this moving forward, anything that you support there will go straight into the pot for the next Creator Grant winner. So yeah, any questions on that, just let us know. So we dive straight into it, I suppose. So obviously we're going to talk about the benefits of events. I'm going to quickly go through the event calendar because I think it's kind of worthwhile kind of mentioning how packed that is over the next few months. I know we're all going to be on planes a lot over the next few months, I think. So the big ones are GCX in June, which is in Florida. We've got TwitchCon Amsterdam, Insomnia, which is a UK event. We've got PAX West in September, TwitchCon San Diego in October, and then another PAX event in December. So it's an absolutely packed calendar. So which ones out of those are you attending, Cyborg?
Pardon me.
Bless
Oh,
you.
I just had to cough as
great,
soon as you asked
great
me a question.
timing.
I was like, oh god, I needed to cough. Um, so so GCX, I've not actually been to one of those before.
Mhm.
It is literally this month, and I have been traveling a lot lately, so that's one of the main reasons I'm actually missing that one. TwitchCon Amsterdam, I do plan to attend, but only for one of the days. That's running. Insomnia, yeah, I'm probably going to be in the area and I will most certainly pop down, even if it's just to network with friends that I haven't seen in a while, and the people who are going to be around for drinks or the networking parties afterwards. And then you've got PAX West. So PAX is actually another one that I haven't actually been to, but I've been planning to go to one of them for a while, and then COVID happened, and that was the only one that I didn't end up trying out that I really wanted to. San Diego, yes, definitely. That's a hell yes. I'll be there for a couple of days beforehand and a couple of days after, most probably as well. And again, PAX in Philly is another one I want to try coming up as well.
So how have things changed for you? Because I imagine at the start of your streaming career, like going to events was a very different experience because you kind of go in there as a new creator, like you don't have those relationships, and now it's very different. How's that kind of changed over time?
It's made it more relaxed. I've got to say that when you go there as a new creator to begin with, I think that everyone goes in a little bit too full on with the networking. And I think over time you realize that it's literally just about being the best version of yourselves and not pushing too hard for, hey, look who I am, sort of thing. So when you go there now, you know most of the people there. And as you network and sort of say hello to you who you already know, they're going to be standing with somebody you don't know that they're going to introduce you to anyway. So it's sort of this really soft sort of networking phase that you get to. Whereas prior to that, I think it was a lot of going store to store with business cards, um, and just sort of really pushing getting to know everyone, especially at the very very start.
Yeah, so is that how you'd recommend people kind of make a start? So obviously we've got a lot of new content creators in the chat at the moment who are kind of probably going to events for their first time as a content creator. How would you recommend they approach that? Would you be as proactive as that, getting out with business cards, getting around all the stands?
Yes and no. Walking around the stands and talking to people and obviously like, giving them business cards, asking if they have any plans around the launches of their games, just generally showing interest in the games that you're going to be able to cover with that genuine passion for that style of game or type of game. Definitely do that. But I think when it comes to the networking events afterwards, so you get like, the Twitch parties or the company parties that the brands hold around, networking, whether it's a partner party that you're a plus one to, or an affiliate party, or something that's open to everyone at the convention. I would say that it's always better to go in there a little bit softer. Don't go in handing cards to every single person. Speak to them first, get to know them first, and then eventually you're going to get asked, so where is it I can find you? Rather than, and I know this has happened in the past, not something I used to do, but when I used to go into events when I first started, I found it very overwhelming when the first thing you would do walking in as, and I wasn't an affiliate at the time because that wasn't around, walking in as a new creator is you'd walk in and somebody would go like, oh hey, blah blah blah, I'm so and so, here, take my card. And it's kind of like, dude, I haven't even spoken to you for 2 seconds, I don't want your card. So just I would say a little bit softer when it comes to networking at the after parties and the networking sort of gatherings that are organized. But when you're around the convention, yeah, totally walk stall to stall and talk to the devs and find out if there's anything that you can help them with around launches and give them cards through that sort of conversation.
Yeah, cool. So a targeted approach. I suppose it's like when you're choosing what kind of games and what sponsors that you want to get involved in your content generally, isn't it? You got to be a bit more targeted about who you talk to, make
Yeah.
sure it's something you're passionate about. At the end of the day, if it doesn't line up with what you're doing, there's a lot of wasted time there for the pair of you, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I suppose, yeah, just thinking about it more, it's very rare a business deal gets done stood on a stand at an expo. Like it's definitely a relationship building process, isn't it? Get out to all the social events, get to meet as many people as you can, and then if you hit it off with those people, then carry on that conversation when you get back, I guess. But
Exactly. And I just to add to that, the reason that it's always best to just go in as your best self and don't just hard sales yourself or sort of hard push your channel to a company or a person is because if you have a genuine conversation with them, even if they haven't had asked for your card at that time or they did take your card, they're more likely to remember you from having the genuine conversation and not being so pushy at the start. But also, if you see them at an event afterwards, they're also more likely to talk to you at that event, and then you're building a stronger connection and bond with that person. And they might decide that actually, you know what, I definitely want to work with this person, and I'm going to keep them on the top of the list.
yeah, awesome. So on your side, Eric, what are you attending this year? Because obviously your approach to this is slightly different, and that you're going to have presence at the event, and you're going to be running events and things as well. Which of that list are you heading over to?
Yeah, so let's see, GCX. I am going to that one, and well, not just myself, but all of Advanced is going to be there. We have a massive booth there, and like Cyborg Angel was talking about, we're actually doing one of the after parties, one of those company after parties she was referring to. So we'll be at GCX in a big way, which is June 11th and 12th, so coming up soon. Uh, I will be at TwitchCon Amsterdam. I'll be there with on foot with a couple other people from Advanced, and then we have a booth at TwitchCon San Diego.
Nice. So
So
I mean,
only those
obviously
three
you
for
do.
now.
Yeah, yeah. Because obviously you do a lot of activities at these things. I mean, what would you say is a positive experience with you from a creator standpoint? Because obviously you get approached by a lot. You know a lot of them. You've got an amazing partnership scheme, so you kind of have some really good relationships already. As a kind of a new creator approaching you, kind of what would your expectation be there?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, to play off of the business card thing, I heard that um, brought up is if just handing someone your business card, I don't think is very valuable because you get so many of them, and then you kind of you try to get back to everybody if you can, but really, if you're going out to network or you really want to work with a specific company, um, what I always try to do is either get a meeting scheduled right there on the spot, you know, um, or make sure that you're added to like their short list or get their email address and put the control like in your hands, rather than just kind of tossing a business card. So that's one thing that I would say. From our side of the fence, like the company side of the fence, um, I'm proactive just like that, really. I'll look for people that I think would be a good fit, and then I'll kind of approach them directly and ask for their information, and then I'll reach out to them directly myself too. So I think the thing is to always kind of keep it in your hands rather than putting in the other person's hands and hoping that they get back to you if they allow that, right? Not everybody's gonna um, you know allow you to kind of take their email or maybe they won't give you their email, but
It's interesting the way you spoke about that actually, 'cause I think there is a little bit of a stigma that content creators are the ones that are kind of doing the chasing for sponsorships, especially kind of at the start. But obviously, the way you kind of pitched that in the beginning was that well, you're kind of looking for these people. You want to get on the short list for these creators as well. And I think that's something that's often missed.
yeah.
A lot of these brands are just desperate to meet people that are passionate about their game and they can work together with. And I think putting yourself in a situation where you can just have that discussion is so valuable. Um, I mean, obviously, on both sides, you're going to have target lists, aren't you, in terms of who you want to talk to? But the
hmm
the world is so broad, you can't possibly know the potential in an individual walking up to you. And I think it's yeah, it's just an interesting one that you said it in that way. So, in terms of kind of obviously, you do kind of party events and that kind of stuff. How have you found the success of that versus kind of the stand work that you guys do? Because I know you obviously give away samples and all that kind of stuff on the day.
I mean, it's hard to really measure success, I suppose. It's hard to quantify it. um I'd say just once you get to a certain size as a company, you want to do parties and things like that. It just kind of adds to the ecosystem, the marketing mix. um but to really say if it again, to be able to quantify that is difficult. But I have a lot of fun doing it, so that's one reason I like to do parties. We did have we had that rooftop party a couple months ago. Um, it was like 5 months ago now, uh, which was a lot of fun, and a lot of partners came out. A lot of friends, partners, people in the community came out. Um, but we probably lost money at the end of the day, but again, it was a lot of fun, and I think those are things that are just really hard to quantify. It adds to the ecosystem. It plants seeds, and maybe 5 years down the road, that'll be the reason that an opportunity opened up, but you would never have known that it started from that. So um, planting as many seeds, I'd say, is important. um, but I understand that not everybody's going to be able to afford to rent out an entire venue and throw a party when they might need to spend their budget on something with a more quantifiable return in the beginning. So
Yeah, as I mentioned before, it's very rare that business gets done at these things. I think it's as long as everyone's walking away with a positive feeling, that should probably be the focus for everybody. At the end of the day,
Yeah,
like that keeps the door open for kind of future conversation. But I agree with what you said. Like keep it in your own hands. Like if it's a conversation went well, don't just sit back and wait for that to come to you. Make sure you're the one that's being proactive and following up. Because I think that is something that is missing in the content creator space for the majority. Is that kind of
definitely.
yeah, it's that proactivity. And at the end of the day, like 90% of gaming brands and gaming companies are so understaffed on the marketing side that if you're the one that's kind of coming to them, I think that's extremely helpful. I remember when I used to work at Game, we didn't have any time to go out to find influencers to work with. So if people were reaching out to us, that was fantastic. It like saves me 2 weeks of research and going to track these people down. So I think, yeah, you're actually doing people a favor if you're reaching out to marketing teams, to partner managers, and doing part of that job.
Yeah, and I actually have a little trick where I purposely don't bring business cards, and even if I do, I'll lie sometimes, say, hey, I don't have any left, just so I can get their information, so I can get their
Mhm.
email and have it into my hands. Because sometimes it'll be a trick on the other side where they're like, hey, just give me your business card because they're so busy and they're talking to so many different people. So hey, just leave your business card to me and I'll get back to you. And then a lot of times they don't get back to you because it just gets lost among hundreds of other business cards. So
So, Cyborg, obviously, you've had some pretty amazing success working with brands. I think in terms of the content creators we've worked with, I think you're certainly up there in terms of
Yeah.
kind of building those relationships. And we obviously see you on social media a lot in terms of the opportunities that you've got from kind of building these relationships. So, what's kind of have you got a best success story in mind from an event in terms of who you've met and what that's kind of brought for the future?
Um, Probably, and I think this was at an insomnia. I went to an insomnia with Corsair, who was a current sponsor, and I went to go and help them with stuff on the stand and sort of be there to do a meet and greet and stuff like that. At the stand, I believe. And all of a sudden, I was told that and I'd never been actually, was it with Corsair? I think it was with Corsair. All of a sudden, I was told that there was um a slot that had come up on stage for some stage sort of tournament, and I'd never done one of these on the stage whatsoever. I think at the time it was with Twitch, and I think the second one I did was with ESL, so it's happened twice now, where I've just jumped in to filling a space in a tournament on stage. And I remember the first time I was absolutely terrified, but I did it, and in doing so, I think that okay, maybe not the first time because I was absolutely terrified, but it got over my nerves slightly. But after appearing on stage and sort of being able to jump into the situation like that, a lot of companies saw interest in it, and a lot of companies decided to approach me for more things. And the thing is, even if that's not more stage work, the more sort of the bigger the brands that you work with and the more that you work with, the more people who work along different lines of work. So, for instance, presenting, stage work, hosting will start to notice you, and you'll become more brand safe and just the sort of person that would be at the top of their list when they start doing stuff like that. So, I think personally that snowballed from me appearing on stage just for random tournaments and being able to fill spots while at events. Not only do I think I got more sponsors from it in the long run, but I think that those sponsors then, had an audience of people who were also looking to host events and do something that needs presenting. And since then, I've done other work in that line of stuff. But I think had it not been being there at those random times, like I say, and jumping into those situations, I might not have snowballed in the way that it has.
Do you think that's
They're
led
not
to because obviously
specifics, but yeah.
yeah, because obviously you're doing a lot of presenting work now, and obviously you've been working with Midas fairly recently. I don't know how you get a word in edgeways when, when he's on stage with you. So well done for keeping him under control. So do you think it's led to that?
Yeah, I think in the long run, like I say, it's sort of a slow process. You can't expect something to happen straight away, and you can't expect something from an event to instantly turn into something else. But over time, you end up being more known, more brand safe. more sort of recognized by companies, uh, that you are able to do these different roles of work and that you're someone who can put across a good personality in those roles. So yeah, you'll be taken on by people. And that's just not just that, that's also being sponsored for games while you're streaming and stuff like that. You're putting across a character and it really does make a huge difference. I think it made a big difference for me. Yeah.
So, in terms of being brand safe, could you just kind of explain a little bit about what you mean by that? Because it's probably a term that a lot of the guys won't have heard
Yeah.
necessarily, and I think it's probably got a little bit of stigma in that people think it's linked to censorship and like some kind of negativity that you're bending your will a little bit for a brand. So, how would you define it?
Yeah, so I mean, it has got a little bit of stigma to it if it's seen in the wrong way. But the way I see it is, for instance, if you have a brand that only wants to work with a certain age group and they don't want swearing, they know that you're someone who can present yourself well spoken, and also someone who's not going to swear in certain situations. Granted, it does slip up sometimes. I think it has for me once or twice on stage or front page, but for the most part, that you're not going to be someone to do that. That again, you hold yourself well, that you come across professional, that you're not someone who is going to talk about the wrong subjects while in those situations. And again, not censorship wise, but you want to be inclusive, which is the big thing. You don't want to create a division within the audience that you have, which is why it's somebody who's gonna make everyone feel welcome essentially,
Mhm.
and just be a good sort of personality and someone who is yeah, you're gonna gonna be well spoken on stage or on streams or in front of a camera.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. Because I think, as I say, yeah, there is a bit of stigma behind it. I think people do get
Yeah.
a bit nervous about working with some brands that are a bit too straight laced for them necessarily. But like you say, it's not necessarily bending to their will. It's more, yeah, just
Yeah.
not turning people off their ad brands or off your content as well. Most importantly, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you want to make sure you're representing your own channel as well.
But also I think it's not even the on the stage presence or the on camera presence. It's also knowing that you're not going to be someone who is amazing in front of a camera, but they know you personally enough to know that when you go to a club or when you go to an after party, you're not starting a fight, or you're not behind the scenes throwing racist remarks at people down the street or something like that. They also want to know you as a personality, to know that they have someone of good morals that's
Mhm.
also going to be standing by their product or presenting their shows.
Yeah, is that a consideration you have, Eric, like kind of day to day? Because obviously, I say you've got a pretty big partnership program, so it must be quite dicey at times, kind of dealing with that many
Yeah.
creators. Like, what's your experience with that?
I mean, I 100% agree with Cyborg Angel on that. It's very important to us that I mean, to us and to most brands that I know, that the partner, influencer, creator has a good reputation, because it's about, and you said that well too, Cyborg, is that it's about being inclusive, and you don't want to, even if it's a couple people that get turned off by it, that's you're still, all you would have to do is, not curse, or not kind of add those negative things, and then, not disclude them from um, the stream or whatever. So um, having partners that truly could allow foster an inclusive audience is definitely important. We have software now where we can scan, um, you know, anything that people say on Twitter,
Yeah.
or a
This is
lot of
where
brands have that now.
chat's
Yeah,
panicking now.
on Twitter, yeah, on
Chat's like,
Twitter,
don't scan my stuff.
on Twitter, on Twitch. A lot of brands use this, if you guys weren't aware. But there's software where we can just type in the creator's name and we could find out anytime they've ever cursed or said something racist, and we could find out exactly when they said it, whether it's on stream or in a YouTube video, or Twitter. And yeah, so it's definitely really important to us that they do, not say bad things. So and both, when they are streaming, and when they're not streaming, really, because it reflects onto the brand. I was actually at the event that I just got back from. I won't say the name of the company, but I was talking with one of the biggest anime brands in the world, and they outright said, that they don't even work with creators because of the volatility. Um, that was the first brand I've ever heard say that they just outright don't work with creators. But that just goes to show how important it is to them. They don't want to work in areas that are volatile. They don't want things that they can't control to reflect back onto their brand. Um, so yeah, it's a very important issue and something that everyone needs to be paying attention to.
Yeah, I think the threshold obviously for mistakes you can make now is probably a lot narrower than it used to be. I mean, just by
Yeah.
the nature of cancel culture and things now, it's definitely the trigger is pulled a lot sooner now than it ever would have been before, I think. Um,
Mhm.
I s- Today, 7 years ago, you might have got a slap in the wrist and a second chance. You just don't really have that now, so you do really have to be careful. Um, Shout out to JJ, who's probably in the chat, who's made a career out of tweeting butts. Bear this in mind. They can scan your feeds.
It doesn't mean there won't be a brand that would work with you, It just means that um,
Yeah,
some of the brands that want to be inclusive and it would be harder to work with them.
yeah, yeah. Because kind of leading on from that, I just wanted to cover kind of online relationships versus IRL relationships, because I think there is quite a big difference there in terms of how fickle building a friendship on Twitter, for example, is versus kind of meeting people at events and kind of building that real life relationship. Have you seen a big difference there, Cyborg, just in terms of kind of the ongoing relationships, which ones have lasted longest?
Yeah, totally. When you meet people, especially over COVID, when you've met people over emails, especially as the staff has changed through COVID as well, a lot of them just end up remaining names, and you don't really have a personality behind that to, I don't know, just sort of connect with them more. You can still like build a very strong relationship that way, especially if you're continuously working with, a few particular companies and you do really well and they're happy with your content. But in the long run, I think a lot of my long-term friends, including you who I've met at, events as well before, I wouldn't have held this connection for this long had it not have been that we met at an event and we had a drink or a chat or actually got to know each other personally as well. So I think it's a big difference. Over email, again, there's only so much character you can really give someone. Um, eh, at events is always the best. You can always meet someone over email first and then catch up with them at an event or be like, "Oh, you're so and so," and get to know each other more after the fact. But yeah, definitely IRL events or meeting them in real life. Yeah, definitely better.
I think we've kind of experienced that a little bit in the business world in gaming as well. I think the relationships can be. I mean, me and Eric have known each other for 7 years now, and I think having that understanding of like how busy each other are, and that there's no kind of subtext to no replies and that kind of stuff. Just very simple things like that. Just knowing that there's kind of a background relationship there that you're going to pick up later is so important.
Mhm.
Because inevitably, yeah, that must have started 50 conversations with different gaming brands that have started amazingly well, but because there's no kind of real life relationship there, they fall off quite quickly. Have you experienced the same kind of thing, Eric? Because obviously you've worked a lot of other businesses from a partnership perspective as well.
Yeah. Although I'm quite pushy in the sense that I try to make like an IRL connection happen. Like if I feel it's a very important relationship, I'll fly out myself, to an event that I know they're going to be at. I'll plan something, um, or I'll make an effort to do video chats, right? I mean, I feel that that's the next best thing. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's obvious that IRL is meeting someone in real life is really really important. Even if you have a relationship without have met them in real life, then it's just going to make it better if you do meet them in real life. So it's just going to solidify it further. So
Yeah. So we've got probably about 20 minutes left. I know Cyborg, you said at the start, are we just going to talk about the good side of events and everything that kind of comes along with that? I think it is important to cover some of the pitfalls, and I think it's extremely relevant as well because there's a lot of concerns around safety at a lot of these events. Obviously, Twitch have had some pretty interesting press over the years in terms of how they've distributed drinks and all that kind of stuff. Have you got any kind of tips or anything that people should really be aware of when they're at events?
Yeah, don't get too drunk. Honestly, if you are trying to make a good impression, that is not a good impression. You do not want to be that creator. at the end of the night that the brands end up walking past because you're on the floor throwing up on the way out. Don't so yeah, hold yourself well. Don't drink too much if you're going to go to the after parties, especially. Um, Also presentation and what you're wearing. It's as simple as it is, and you think it's just a gaming event. If you're in a like sort of a grubby hoodie that you've been wearing the entire 3 days of the event, and you've not put any presentation or coordination into what you're wearing, it's not going to come across very presentable, especially for someone who they're going to work with. So even simple things like that. And again, it is a gaming event. We don't, they don't expect you to dress smart, but something sort of smart casual that shows that you're serious about making it a business is a huge thing. Also, definitely always buddy up, have a buddy system, someone you're going to rely on, especially towards the later events in the evening. That you're not going to have to continuously end up looking after as well, so you've both got each other, is a huge thing too.
Yeah, perfect. So, any tips that you've got, Eric, or any kind of stories you want to share on that side?
Just in general about events. I mean,
Just to
from the
the kind of things to look out for, kind of the pitfalls in an event, any kind of negative
I mean,
experiences that you've
if we're
had that.
talking from the company side, the business side, I
Mm,
would say it's easy to spend a lot of money and be careful about that. Um, I mean, it just everything adds up quickly, right? So if you're a company trying to come to one of these events and plan after parties and this and that, um, that's definitely a pitfall that I've gotten into, caught up into. Um, Aside from that, I mean, getting sick is something I will throw out there, and mostly if you're someone who works from home or you're just a person that is at home a lot, doesn't go out very often, like myself, because I work mostly from home. When you're more likely to get sick out at events, so probably just be extra cautious. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't go to events because they're still extremely valuable and they have come back. They're um, as far as the events that I've been to recently, they're bigger than ever. So they're definitely fully back in terms of traffic. But you still have to be cautious if you don't want to get sick, right? So maybe wear a mask if you don't have a very strong immune system, or use sanitizer, things like that. That's
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
a,
just
that's a couple.
really, really quickly on the discussion of masks as well. Even if you're not sick, and I think that I found this just anywhere in general at the moment. Um, I know that masks aren't needed in most places, but even if you're not sick, if you're someone who's got a tickly cough, like I've got one at the moment, if I know that I'm gonna be coughing the entire time I'm out, I think it's just polite as well to wear a mask if you know that it's something you're gonna constantly be doing. Again, you might know that you've not got COVID, but just to make other people feel more comfortable, I have found that recently. If I was to go to an event, and especially if the viewer was coming up to me and they just had this tickly cough, and it could just be that. If they were constantly coughing, I would just feel so much more relaxed around them if they wore a mask, just out of pure politeness, just so people don't have to overthink the situation as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
that's a good point.
Cool. So we do have a question actually from Chris, who's in the chat. So Chris is a good friend of ours. He's been to a couple of events. He's actually asked a question for you, Eric, saying that if you're a smaller creator and you're not quite hitting those kind of threshold numbers that a brand might expect for you to kind of get into a sponsorship deal or one of those opportunities, do you think meeting those people in real life at events kind of helps that process?
That is a really good question. Yeah, I mean, it definitely doesn't hurt. It helps in the sense, I guess you got to decide what your goals are too. I mean, is it just to get a sponsorship, or is it to make friends, to network, um, just to have a connection with an individual at the company. Let's say it's advanced. If you're trying to have a connection with me or someone else at advanced, and because there's a lot of value that can come from that both ways too. I mean, you as a creator, you bring that value, but I'm sure you also bring a lot of other value to the table. So I'd say just kind of approaching it from that angle, where if you make that connection, who knows what doors it would open up. I mean, I've we've had people that were applied to be a partner, and then next thing you know, they ended up being working with Advanced. um, or I've had other people where they've helped us, where we've worked with their company, right? That maybe they were in like the printing business or something, and so there's all sorts of things that can come of that. Or I've had other times where I've gotten them a sponsorship with another company. Maybe we weren't in the position to sponsor them, but I referred them to another company. So it definitely helps for sure. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah, perfect.
But
Cool.
yeah, it is hard to say though if you don't reach, if there is kind of a certain threshold of yeah, it's hard to say if it would break through that entirely, but something good of it would come from it. So
Yeah, perfect. Cool. Well, thank you very much, guys. So obviously we're aiming to try and finish around 9 o'clock. So we've got a few things that we need to do in terms of the creative grant and things. But in terms of core takeaways from you both, if we were to give you kind of 30 seconds to give us a sentence on kind of what you would take away from the conversation and what you take away from the stream, what would you say? We'll start with you, Cyborg.
What I would take away or what the viewers would take away?
Yeah, what the viewers should take away from this. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I would just say how to present yourself and at events when approaching companies, when approaching other creators, and just not to hard sell who you are and your brand and your channel, but rather put your best foot forward and get them to know you personally and be someone that they would want to work with, even outside of it being a business or brand.
Perfect. Did you write that one down? That was very well rehearsed. That was good.
that was a good one.
You got to follow that up, Eric. Now, but you got a good one.
Yeah, I already had one made up in my head. Um, so I would say if you're healthy enough, you know, you have a strong enough immune system and you can afford it, go to as many events as you can. That would be my thing. Um, I've gotten so much value out of going to events, and it's just a good time, right?
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
it's the
everybody needs
perfect
that right
mix.
now.
Yeah, especially right now after dealing with COVID and all that. um, yeah, just try to go to as many as you can. You meet so many new friends, you know, business opportunities, just all around a good time. So
Yeah, perfect. I just wanted to finish by regurgitating something that Cyborg said earlier, actually, because I think it's probably the thing that's kind of stuck with me most throughout this, which is kind of having a targeted approach. That you're not going to meet everybody whilst you're there. You're not going to get around every stand, meet everybody from every business. So do a bit of research, find out who's going to be there, find out who the important people are, and then try and target your approach and get to as many social events. And don't say no to an opportunity. It sounds like your life might be very different if you said no to those on stage competitions and
Exactly that.
things. So
Yeah.
yeah, be ready to take advantage of those. Perfect. Well, thank you very much. So we'll just skip straight over onto the creator grant. So for those of you who don't know, every 8 weeks we give away a batch of goodies to an up and coming creator. So that the whole aim of it really is to try and provide some tangible support. So we do that by giving a $300 contribution, but it has to be spent on streaming equipment. And then we also work with Advanced Gamer Advantage and Beacon to help again to supplement that through gaming supplements, through gamer advantages, eye protection, and then Beacon's high level microphones and mixers. So um, I suppose it's time to announce it. So you have to. I apologize for butchering the name immediately because it is. So it's definitely an Asian inspired name. So it's our winner is a VTuber called Koizumi TV. So I don't know if Koizumi is in chat at all, but congratulations, you've won the creator grant. So you'll be receiving, I think you requested a monitor through the grant from us. So get in touch and we'll help you to source that and we'll get it sent across to you. And you'll also be receiving $100 in contributions from Advanced and Gamer Advantage. And then Beacon are contributing a Beacon mic and Beacon Mix Create in a color of your choice as well. So it looks like you'll get a pretty good upgrade there. You'll get some eye protection, a new microphone, and a new monitor. So hopefully that'll be some really good upgrades that will help you out. So congratulations. And obviously we'll reach out to you on social media as well and make sure we're in touch with you over the next couple of days. So yeah, just another massive thank you to obviously Eric from Advanced who's here, to Brian at Gamer Advantage and John at Beacon who we've worked with for a fairly long time now. We've seen kind of Beacon come from the ground up, the same with Advanced and Gamer Advantage. So we're really excited to kind of continue the journey with you guys as we all get far too busy and work too long hours as the businesses get bigger. So perfect. So that's it from us. We'll be back in 8 weeks' time. We do have a partnership event that we're going to be running in Discord. So the event's called The Forge. So that is where we'll bring in someone like Eric from a brand to come into our Discord to present opportunities for content creators. So it essentially gives you a safe space to sit and chat with those representatives of those companies that can kind of give you that help to get on the ladder from a sponsorship perspective. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure you join our Discord, which you can find in our panels at the bottom. And yeah, that's it from us. So thanks very much for your time, and yeah, I appreciate you hanging around with us for an hour, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.
Thanks, guys.